Is it working? Yes, stay at work.
So. I think
All
so.
right.
Trying to.
So I'm just going to go to the regular website. Yeah, it's working.
Can I ask you? And having read the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna basically says, you know, a warrior can slay on the battlefield without thinking the warrior's the doer of the slaying, I get a little bit afraid of using non-duality and karma yoga and these concepts in order to judge.
Richard, can you hear me?
Going to admit you can't pull it off, and then there'll be something that allows you to pull it off. Yeah. You want to call it a higher power or another aspect of you. Yeah. Yeah. The admittance of powerlessness brings about an availability of power. Yeah. If you're still trying to do it, which it sounds like, and managing it, that's why it's not working.
Richard, can Paul unmute himself?
I wouldn't mix Zoom and live again. All right, can you hear me, everyone there?
Yeah.
It's nice to see you. So the question was from somebody here that they're afraid that non-duality is going to give them a license to act out, and they have a history of being violently when they get angry. Yes?
Not physically, but sometimes I will be physically scared.
Yes. All right. So it scares you. Yes. All right. So non-duality can't be used for anything really. Yeah. What it's going to do is weaken your belief in that forecast. Yeah. Your belief in that forecast is, the faith in the forecast is what's inducing that anxiety. Faith is behind everything here. Faith. The forecast that you were saying, well, if I started getting non-duality, it may give me license to act out, and that would be no bueno. Yeah.
I mean, I've already seen this.
Well, yeah, because this is the mental state trying to use non-duality. Yeah, that's not the message of non-duality. The message of non-duality, you are not the product of a mental state. That which is implying to be the one doing all that shit, there isn't one. Yeah. This is a fundamental trip that happens when a lot of people get introduced to non-duality. Their head wants to get advantage from it. Yeah. It wants to have an excuse why you're not doing shit, or why you're doing shit is because you're not a self or whatever. That's not going anywhere. It's on surface. Yes. It's not sinking anywhere. And usually most people, if they stick with the message, they'll grow out of that little, sort of like a teenage period, and they'll get more mature with the situation. Yes. And where it leads to I'm just sharing what I've observed. Where it led to me was just an admitting of the impossibility of me getting what I so much want out of non-duality. Yeah. That I'm not going to get this message. This message is about there is no me to get the message. That's the message. Yeah. So all these spiritual desires and yearnings and longings to be there to witness the final day of uniting with the Godhead, yeah, that's not happening. Yeah, there's just going to be a forgetting of you. Really, there's going to be a forgetting of you, and then something that was available will be really obvious. Not because it suddenly appeared, it's just that you forgot about you. Or there's not a you forgetting you, it's the language, but there's a forgetting of you, and then things become obvious that when you're looking for them, they seem not to be available. You got to get it, yeah? It's like hearing about a great party, and when you arrive, it sucks. You got to see your role in this, yeah? You play a huge role. You do. What's obscuring the fact is us. That's the dilemma. So, and we don't know any other way but using. So we keep trying to use the system that's being used to obscure something to clarify it. That's what you have to come to a point of utter failure, which is a hallelujah, truly. From the head's side, it sucks. Yeah, because it's on some level, it's held out for this like supreme get out of jail card, and it's not going to work. You're going to show up and days are going to be like they were, and shit will happen and shit won't happen, but you'll travel lighter through it. Yeah, because you've lost interest in it being incredibly different. Because you're wanting it to be different is why it's staying the fucking same. It's just the way it goes. Yeah, you would think that your vested interest would promote you. It doesn't for some of us. It's the worst enemy. Yeah. So we, in a way, have to be sent around the corner, and not just for a half hour, for as long as we can. And then life starts working better. Yeah. But as soon as it comes under your little surveillance, it starts to suck. You don't see it. It's you. You know, it's sort of like when I came into recovery and I had a lot of relationships that didn't work, seemingly, with women. And I did it and I could look at them all, and there was one constant in all of them, me. I was the constant. Not every girl was the exact same, but I was the exact same to every girl. This is the delusion of selfing. It keeps exempting itself from the examples as if you're a special, unique character. You're not. We're run-of-the-mill fucking demonstrations of self-centeredness run wild. Yeah. And we have the leisure and the abundance to really go up the ass of self, where other people are too busy fucking surviving. And in a weirder way, they're happier than us. Man, you ever go to Asia? Like when I was young, it was always good to travel, I feel, when you're young, because you have an idea, and we're fed here that we got it the best and stuff. So I would go to very poor countries like Burma, but there was so much smiling going on. Yeah, I would go by this river. There was a huge river near Rangoon called the Irrawaddy. It's a big river there. And there would be they would set up this super poor little amusement thing. They'd have one of those old clothes dryers that was a circle, you know, and they had these chains, and they built like a rocket ship out of a box, and the kid would be there, and a lady was be moving the thing with a rope, and the kid was fucking not at Six Flags or Disneyland. This little thing just blissed out, yeah. And they had another little thing made out of cardboard, and this was their fucking county fair, so to speak. And people were smiling and shit like that, and it was amazing, you know. And so we got a lot of time to go up the ass of self and to sort of, you know, have a lot of topics up there. Some of the most spiritual ones.
I mean, I slept in the car last night, and that's even a privilege.
It is a privilege, definitely, in a way. So, you know, sometimes there was a guy I read, he became like a big Buddhist teacher, and he was manic depressive. And then one of the statements of a talk about him from other people was he believed that Buddhism was going to correct the manic depression, and he ended up dying. He overdosed on street Oxycontin. Yeah. A lot of times we believe things can be used as medicines, and they're not meant to be used as medicine. Maybe Buddhism, but not non-duality. Non-duality is a fact. It's a fact. And from that assumed fact that you are what you're looking for, and therefore, if that doesn't make any sense of at all, then that which believes that is not you. That's why you're not that which you're looking for. You're looking for what you are looking for. Yeah, what we are. Yes. So that's the assumption. And then from there, how that gets validated is not trying to affirm that fact. It's negating the assumed fact we're living under, knowingly or not knowingly. And there's different levels of knowing. Some people know it on a cursory level. They're feeling irritable, restless, discontent. Something's off. I don't feel like I'm really living. It seems like I have an interpretation. Seems like I've got to accrue value from some master up in the head so I can have a good time. If I didn't work hard today, I don't get a break. So it's like a slavery, yeah? And you're reporting basically the slave relationship on a certain level. Others start seeing more of it, yeah? And then you start seeing what you're not. You see it, and you see, so you're seeing what you're not. And in that seeing of what you're not, things that are never available to it become available. That's what happens. So exactly that it's the looking for it is what's producing seemingly a blindness to it. Yeah, that's the pill you swallow after a while. You realize you're never gonna get it, but it's a great bit of news. Where before that would be a fucking terrible bit of news, especially if I've been working for 20 years, meditating my knees off and my ass off to really come to the conclusion I'm never gonna get it. But in a way, that's the hallelujah. The hallelujah is by hearing these satsangs, you realize you're not going to pull it off. You can't experience what you already are. See, this is the dilemma. People go, well, I want to have the experience of it. It's not available. Why? The same answer. You're it. Yeah. I want to know it. It's not available. Why? You're it. Yeah. I want to study it. Not available. Why? You're it. That's why. You can't say that about a pair of pants or another teacher or something. You're not that. So you can study him or you can know him, but you can't know what you are because you are that. That's the assumption of non-duality. I feel this is my humble opinion. If it's being presented in another way, that's not non-duality with me. For me, the assumption of non-duality is you are what you're looking for. And what needs to be questioned is what's looking for, who's the looker and the looking for. Obviously, that's what needs to be questioned. Because the fact is you are what you're looking for. All right, I'm into that. That seems true. All right, move on to the direction. And the direction isn't affirming that all day, because when you're affirming that all day, there's a reinforcing of what you're not as the affirmer of that all day. You see? So you're wanting to know non-duality is actually reinforcing the duality, unbeknownst to most of us. What? Yeah. So it comes to a point where Ramana says it as clear, super freaking clear, Ramana Maharshi. And he says it in a lot of ways, and I've forgotten most of them, but the one way I remember is there's a presupposing of a non-existent thing, yes, this being the one who's existing. See? So the object is presented as the subject. This is duality. The basis of duality is dualism, subject object. We are the representation of that. And it's this idea that's being negated by the idea of non-duality. It's not being affirmed, it's being negated, not denied. That's what the mental state does, negated. Yeah. That there's evidence to show us that we're not that. Yeah. And when there's a seeing and there's a reckoning to that information, there's a possibility that's not available to any one of us as a long-lasting, independent, separate entity, because we're not a long-lasting, independent, separate entity. We cannot be what we already are. It's impossible. Hold on a second. Yeah. You can't do it. Try it. Yeah. It's just like the statement in recovery. They have this statement, very important one. It says, hey, you got to quit playing God. Yeah. So there's an assumption something's playing God because it seems paramount to quit it. Yeah. So there's a quit it. You got to quit playing God. So if you're not knowing it, you're and you're in the act of identifying with that which is playing God, which is given your name, so to speak, and is pictured as this, yeah. If you're not clear on that, then you set out to stop playing God. What is that but playing God? Can what's playing God ever stop playing God? That would be playing God. It will. There's no point where it changes ever. That's what can extend in time. The futility of trying to get out of what you're not in, or trying to get into what you're not out of. That's the futility. Yeah, futility is of time, and this place can make it very, very futile. You'll spend years and years and years of trying to get into something that you're not even out of. Yeah, just look at what they do with the moment. They've sold books on it. They sold books, tons of books about how to get into the moment, which is totally predicated on an assumption that you could be out of a moment. I don't believe that. That's not my observation or experience. I don't. So I have no interest in buying a book about getting into the moment, not because I don't want to be in the moment. I just realize I can't be out of a moment. So why do I want to read? It seems to be redundant, so to speak. And I remember we gave talks at this bookstore in a town down San Rafael, spiritual bookstore. And I remember they have tons of books outside. They get new ones in every day. And there was one, and it was like 900 pages, and the title was Consciousness. So being conscious, I had no interest in reading about consciousness. Why would I? Why would I want to read about what I am? I'd rather just be what I am than read about a lot of other stuff. You know what I mean? But see, if you're thinking you're something that is conscious and your experience, and you're actually not your experience, the interpretation you're following a lot of time is that you're not conscious based on you're not doing enough or all this bullshit, that suddenly this infinite amount becomes quantified. Oh, I want to be more conscious because I believe I'm less conscious. This is all baloney. It's all made up. All there is consciousness. That's one of the early statements I used to hear. So how can you divvy it up? All right, I want a little less conscious so I can get motivated to get more conscious. You see what's playing God? All there is consciousness. Oh, let's forget that fact. I want to live a life, an interpretation. I, with my own effort, can become more conscious. And then also with lack of effort, will become less conscious. And I bet you'll spend more time believing you're less conscious than more conscious. I do. I usually see it. It's not an objective field. It's usually the more you want it, the less you think you have it. I'm not going to take a question right now. Let me just riff off of this second. I'll be back with you again. Because there's a subtlety, but you can express it through comedy, really. There's a subtlety of the futility of trying to get to where you already are. There is. It's a comedy. It's dramatic if you're caught up in it. But if you get off on it, it's funny as hell. Yeah. Because the greatest getting the joke is when you realize you're the butt of it. Yeah. Because when you realize you're the butt of it, you also further realize you're not that. Yeah. While you're trying not to be the butt of it, you're more than that. You're more that than ever. Yes. When you're trying not to be a fraud, you'll feel like one fucking all day. Yes. It's just the slavery of opposites. Yeah. It tells you you're one thing, and then it's totally anxious and fearful of the other. Yeah. You swallow the one, and then you believe the other's coming. Yeah. This is the bondage of self. It's an activity. There's no self to be bonded to. It's an idea presented through a mental activity called selfing. I call it selfing. Yeah. So, and the selfing, anytime you enter that little current, it's always in the act of being identified as self. So when there's thinking, it immediately implies there's a thinker of them. That's the act of being identified as self. So self represents the image of being the thinker. Yeah. Yeah. When you enter it and there's feeling, the feeling implies there's a feeler. And that's where the obsession lies. Yeah. You're gonna feel tons of things today, but you're gonna leave today with the feeling of being the one feeler. There was the one feeler who felt all these different things. Yeah. We swallow this every day. There's feelings. That's what's happening. then there's a mental acquisition or a claiming of those feelings, and it implies there's got to be a feeling, because that's the mental logic. If you didn't do it and I didn't do it, then God did it. Somehow there's got to be a cause. No, there doesn't have to be a cause. And definitely in dreaming, there's no cause, is there? You're in your bed, yeah? You're having a nightmare, but you're basically in your bed with your Tempur-Pedic mattress and the one that wraps around your neck and pillow. You're pretty chilled out, really, but you're terrified because really you're experiencing an uncaused effect. Yeah. An uncaused effect would be dreaming. You're dreaming that there's a live tiger, but there isn't a live tiger. So while you're in the dreaming of the live tiger, you're super afraid, and then someone gave you this idea of non-duality. There's no tiger, there's no me, but it's not working. You're petrified. Yeah, fuck that, give me something else. Nothing's gonna work because you think it's real and you think you're real. But when you wake up from the dream, you're not afraid of that tiger anymore, are you? Because you've realized it wasn't a real tiger. Yes or no? Yes. So basically, while in the dream, you're experiencing causeless effects. You're truly anxious and fearful of nothing, basically. Like most people are totally anxious about next week. There is no next week. Yeah. This is why we love Labradors and shit, because they don't have that little possibility. You know, you throw the ball one time and 500 times, it's the same joy. Us, we see a beautiful sunset. Oh, fuck it. I've seen plenty of sunsets. It's just completely, enslaved to what's not happening. And why? Because you're identified as what's not happening. Why false evidence keeps appearing real? Because it's appearing real to false evidence. The one who's thinking it's seeing the truth of something isn't true. This is an acronym we have in recovery for fear. False evidence appearing real. Yeah. Now, for that to occur, false evidence has to appear real to what's real. Yes. How else would it have a reality other than us giving it? False evidence appears real. How does it? How could false evidence appear real? It's false. It appears real to us because we're real. Yeah. And we're identified as something false. And through that, we give false evidence the appearance of being real all day. Yeah. If you don't get to the causes and conditions, your nirvana isn't up here. It's not up there. The nirvana is a loss of interest in the pursuit of nirvana. The liberation is free from the need to be liberated. Yeah. The peace is now, not because you've fulfilled some mental requirements you've read about from 1200 years ago in a different setting and in a different circumstance. There's a constantly putting off and making it a goal, our inherent opportunity now. We're awake right now. I did not do one thing to be awake today, not one. Yeah, the awakeness is the base, and then there can be a lot of shenanigans on that base. I can actually truly believe I'm not awake, maybe for 80 years. But does it change the fact that I'm awake? No, it never has. That's why it's called dreaming. Dreaming can assume a lot of facts, but it doesn't change a fact. Yeah, it's dreaming. Yeah. So I find if you're dreaming seemingly awake to the fact of being awake, it allows a traveling lighter that has nothing really to do with you. Therefore, it goes on unabated. Because if it was you, you'd fuck it up. Yeah. So now something's happening through you and you're clear it has nothing to do with you, and it tends to linger and last a lot longer. But as soon as you start, and the head will want to claim it, I'm the one who got this epiphany, and that's the second of owning the epiphany is when it seems to end. That's when you're in an epiphany, and then the thought says, I'm having an epiphany. That's when the epiphany has become historical. As soon as you show up, it seems to end. Exactly. I'm telling you, this is the case. Yeah. Now, This idea is going to show up, but if it isn't you, you never show up. Yeah. It's always going to say it showed up, but you can see through it. It's not something that needs to stop because it's mechanical. It needs to be seen. Yeah. And we are at that vantage point of seeing it. We're before everything. We are awareness. Yeah. Everything comes into awareness through awareness. We are that. So you can see the mental activities. You can. Because you're not of mental activities. Yeah. When you identify with the mental activities, you live a life looking from them. You look from these false assumptions. Yeah. Constantly calling everything you that is not. Yeah. You are not the doer of a lot of actions. Yeah. The same people I used to speak to in recovery reminded me in the old days, we would say, do you feel like you're beating the heart? No, you say the heart's beating. Yeah. Why are you saying they're your thoughts? You could say the brain's thinking. Why do you claim the thoughts, but you don't claim the beating of the heart? Yeah. There's an activity, something's beating, and you could say I'm beating, but obviously it was too far a throw, maybe. The Hail Mary needed a longer field or something. So okay, gotta back off. All right, but this ambiguous activity, oh yeah, Paul's the thinker. Paul's thinking. And he should knock it off. You don't say, Paul, stop beating. No, you don't say that. You don't want to end up at the shirt. Yeah. But then completely 180 about thoughts, right? The head keeps saying you're the thinker all day. Yeah. It says you're the doer, not about everything that's being done, like pumping blood and shit like that. Pretty much it's thrown out a large net and claimed to have a lot to do with a lot of shit that has nothing to do with. And then we just walk around with this giant heavy story. And then of course we're fucking looking for relief. Who wouldn't? Yeah. But in a way, it's not we look for relief in the wrong places. We look for relief from the wrong place. Yeah. We don't understand the freedom is from self, not as self. Yeah. From self. From that familiar assumption of who you are based on all the shit that's happened and all the things you did do or not do and all your proclivities and the anxiety of having to manage shit you can't manage is frustrating, and it causes us want to distract ourselves. So we get loaded or act out and make a drama so we can just not pay attention to that. At that point, you need surrender. That's what you need. You don't need meditation. You don't need fucking anything. You need to admit that you're outmatched. You do. You need to admit you're outmatched. Just admit, hey, I can't pull it off. I can't do it. Yeah. And then see what happens. See if you give up the steering wheel, if something else doesn't grab it. You'll see. You will see that you're in good hands. Not by reading about people in the ancient era being in good hands. You'll see it in your own life. You'll feel as if something that you're assured and supported. Yeah. And then you act like that and you live like that and you go through what you have to go through. Everyone has their sort of crosses to bear as an action figure. But there's always the possibility, because like the Course in Miracles says, everything here are mistakes. There are no sins. Everything can be corrected. Yeah. In the dreaming, everything can be corrected. So it's just the faith. See, if there's faith in that which thinks it's in fear, there'll be fear. Yeah. Because faith is before everything. When someone says they don't have any faith, there's faith in that. Faith is what allows this dreaming to occur. Faith is a force that manifests by the vehicle it's put in. Just look at the head or the mental space and see how much anxiety is produced out of thinking about things that aren't happening, like next week and a month from now. That's only brought about by faith. The thoughts can't do it. Faith in the thoughts can do it, because we are the source of the faith, and that faith is being misdirected. The mental state is directing the faith into the system that's failed. Yeah, and it's never going to admit it. It doesn't. Self can't get out of self, but it never stops trying. So you have to see something isn't working, and it's not personal. You rely on something that's not reliable. Just fucking admit it finally. And then to me, it was sort of like a surrender. I just, and I was convinced. I was convinced suddenly. And yet that convincing has stayed firm now for years after year after year. Like, that doesn't come up for debate every few months or a review. It doesn't lead to me taking over at any point. It's just finally the shenanigans of the failed system got severely limited, because it doesn't fulfill the mission of acting out through me. It can cause crazy thoughts, but the actions don't occur. Yeah. I never get arrested for thinking I hate someone. Yeah. You get arrested if you do something stupid. Yeah. And then I've seen it. I've seen it thousands of times in my own experience and watching recovery people. Yeah. The faith in the thought about their being fucked by some imaginary situation compels an action, and that action compels consequences, and they end up in jail for 20 years or something, like over an imagined slight. That's faith. Yeah. So I sense the power, because I went, man, when this addiction rode me, man, it was unbelievable. I have a lot of respect for power. And I've noticed misdirected power. And that's what self-centeredness does. It misdirects power. It keeps it orbiting around this idea at all costs. And no matter all your hopes about freedom, is bonding you to the idea of self. Yeah, it says it perfectly. Being convinced, I forgot to finish that, the presupposing of the non-existent thing. So basically, the mental state becomes cognizant of some activities, let's say consciousness, yeah? The mental state claims the consciousness is of the body. So I'm the one who's conscious, yeah? This is the mistake that it builds on. Yeah? It's just a mistake. It's hybrided something that's not together. It's made the subject be an attribute of the object, where if you see it in a certain way, all there is subjectivity, and the object is an appearance in a field of subjectivity. Yeah. But in this dreaming of self-centeredness, the object is the dominant center. Yeah. And so the system constantly reflects and obsesses over this self. That's why it's called self-centeredness, to reinforce this identification as the thing. Yeah. Even though there's complete evidence of the subjectivity all day, it keeps being attributed to the thing. So I'm doing shit, I'm seeing, I'm hearing, I'm feeling, I'm tasting, which isn't true. Yeah. There's seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. There's no person seeing. Yeah. The eye isn't seeing. It facilitates something called vision, but it's consciousness, or let's say awareness is seeing. Yeah. All of us. Yeah. All of us come from the same field, all of us. As we go out here, there's seemingly more differences. As you go back, there's no difference. Yeah, here, back. Yeah. So this subject-objectness is what non-duality negates. It just questions it. Yeah. It doesn't question worrying about next week. It questions the assumption that it's you worrying about next week. Just saying. Are you really sure it's you worrying about next week? Because the reason why next week seems so important is rooted, it's because of you, really. You're not worried about other people's next week, are you? Not usually. You only worry. So basically, if you weaken that, you'll weaken the length and the effect of worrying about next week, because there'll be a loss of interest in it, because it won't be about you. Tell you the truth, that's how it works. So the loss of interest, it pulls off a lot of this mental activity, and then it enriches your day instead of enslaving it to yesterday and tomorrow enriches it. Yeah. How many days you have an experience or something happens and it breaks the boundaries of your idea of self? How fast do the mortar and the shit come out and the bricks are put back in place? Jesus Christ. They have a statement in Australia, the tall poppy syndrome, like a sociological study, that Australians generally, they all like their celebrities and sports stars, but the common bloke, they don't want anyone to go too far. So they call it the tall poppy syndrome. They always cut the tall poppy. The system defends itself constantly. Yeah, constantly. Yeah. So I can go on with it, but if you have a simple diagnosis, let's say awareness is not of time, yeah, and let's say the production of the feeling of being you that's aware is of time. So the mental process is a process. It takes time to produce its assumption. Yeah, you are not of time, really. Awareness is not of time. So hopefully, how you see a process of time is not in time. You see it from timeless. Yeah, that's the quality we are. So you can see a process in time because you're not of time. Yeah, so you see it, and you see that there's a claiming of an action to imply the doer, and then the doer is presupposed before the action. Yeah, so now without an action, you still think you're a doer. Yeah, so he says it beautifully. He says, being convinced, he said, no, I'm going the other way. There's a presupposing of a non-existent thing, wanting to get salvation for the non-existent thing. That would be suspect right there. Yeah. Why would there be any drive of a non-existent thing to get salvation for the non-existent thing? It's non-existent. It can't have that option, right? So, but obviously there's an assumption that it's existing. And now in that assumption, that mistake, it's seeking salvation for itself. So the foreign idea is seeking salvation for the foreign idea, instead of us seeing it as a foreign idea and have salvation from it. Yeah. The foreign idea is seeking salvation for itself. And says, if this is the case, and he's just putting it out there, says your spiritual practices themselves are reinforcing the idea, the non-existent thing. How can they destroy it? It's a good one to sit with for a while. You wouldn't think, most people, when they're in spiritual practice, do not believe that their practicing is reinforcing what they're trying to get out of, obviously, or they'd have to question the practices. Yeah. So most people, if they heard the second sentence, they'd be, no fucking way. I'm on this 30 years, I feel a lot better, But you have to, it goes along with the prior statement, which is there's an assumption that you're something that you're not. That's something that you're not's claiming to be the doer of all the spiritual practices. So while you're doing shit to undo a lot of stuff, that doing of shit to undo stuff is reinforcing the idea of being the doer. Yeah. Most people never get to see that. Yeah. And so what happens? They keep on keeping on. Yeah. But if you can see it and let it land and realize what arises when that message comes through isn't you, the system will always try to grab the megaphone and this isn't true. Just sit with it. Sit for a while longer and see what happens. Yeah. And then hopefully the information collects, and it's sort of like you have a weak foundation and maybe it can hold very light furniture, but if you bring in something heavy, it collapses. Well, there'll be a critical mass, let's say, of information, and then the house of cards collapses and you still stand. And so you see you're not that. And then again, it appears the house of cards shows up again, but now it's quite different. It's sort of like there's a old Zen saying that we changed a little bit. The way it used to go was, first there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there's a mountain. But we changed it a little. First there is no mountain, then there is a mountain, then there's no mountain, then there's a mountain. See? See, first, if there was first, there is a mountain, then the joy and the goal would be there is no mountain. So you think you rush towards that goal, but then there's a mountain again. This is what frustrates so many people. But if you put the first statement as there is no mountain, you would see the appearance of the second mountain different than you saw the appearance of the first mountain. You would, clearly. You would realize, I don't care how it may smell like a mountain, feel like a mountain, taste like a mountain, there is no mountain. That's the point of convincing. Yeah. So the way it starts in the way it was presented was first there is a mountain. No, to me, first there is no mountain. And then we start on this assumption there is a mountain, and that assumption being uncomfortable to us drives us to get to a point there is no mountain, and unfortunately the mountain fucking appears again. And so usually it drives us to do more of what we believe caused the mountain to disappear. So now the retreats, instead of a weekend, become a month, and then you're going to fucking Burma for a year or two, or on and on and on, because we're a believer of more is better. So you'll do more, longer, da da da. And then when that doesn't work, you synthesize stuff. Let's throw some tantra in this, stand on the head, Wim Hof, do all this shit. We're gonna get there again. You don't realize in this case you're the mountain. So even when there is no mountain, there's still this mountain idea. And that thing that has that idea does not want to get rid of the mountain. It wants to see there is no mountain as the fucking mental mountain. Yeah, I tell you. It may tell you, oh, I would let go if just if I was divorced by now, or I could sell that house, or da da da. No, you wouldn't. The head doesn't fucking want to go anywhere near this. It just tells you stories, and you keep buying it to prolong this thing. Yeah. This is an immediate whack. If there's wisdom, you stay down. Yeah. If you want to get back up, you're going to get knocked out again, and sooner or later, you're going to stay down. You can't lose, really. And in what we are, there is no sooner or later. So there wasn't like a giant, I really blew it, or the longing. None of that matters. Yeah. When you arrive at where you already are, it's always been that way. It doesn't matter what you thought happened. It didn't. That's the great news. You can't blow it. It's sort of like when you're on a plane. Are you going to get there much faster if you rush up to the front? Yeah, in some way you may get out the door, but the plane arrives at the same time, everyone in it, yeah, so to speak. In timelessness, we've already arrived. We can never leave. So, yeah, I could break it down, but the mental state's main movement is claiming. Just watch it. Yeah. So when there's an action that you go through, if something comes through you, it's just nonchalantly implying, oh, you're definitely the doer. Yeah, all day. Now, sometimes it makes sense, but sometimes it's way out there, like a life of extreme, addiction. It's obvious that you were dancing with a gorilla and you were going to stop when the gorilla wanted to stop. You weren't choosing shit. No, it was obvious something was possessing you and using you for transportation. Yes, I'm saying that's happening without addiction, because there's a mental addiction going on and the same conditions happening. Something is using us for transportation. There's a foreign, if you want to see it that way, a foreign pathogen or some element in us that has its own agenda, so to speak. And it's not a win-win thing. It's more of a parasitical. Yeah, its idea of winning is you're losing. It doesn't want to share a life. It wants to have your life, so to speak. Yeah, it wants you to see in the eyes it provides. It wants you to see life from its point of view. Yeah, it does. There's a statement in, the Course in Miracles. You ever hear it? Yeah, there's a beautiful riff I like to do, but we didn't bring the pages. But it says, he makes an incredible statement about this something else that we have made to be ourselves. Yeah, this something else. Well, really, that there's a something else that has convinced us that we have made it to be ourselves. Yeah, this something else. And it says, firm in faith in this something else is truly the act of denial of what you are. Yeah. So where most of them in the mental state is firm in faith in the mental state. Unfortunately, it's a failed system. So it's just not going to get it. Usually when people get it, they've gone through a fucking heavy duty situation or many years of it sometimes. In recovery, we call it a bottom, where the futility of the whole thing collapses in and of itself, and there's a possibility shows up. Where, yeah, and then there's a surrender, and then your whole life can change from that point. Yeah, and you realize why it was all predicated on that surrender idea. As long as you believe that you can manage yourself out of this thing, you are going to be in this thing. Yeah, it's a stubborn. You can't convince it to give up. You give up from somewhere else. Yeah, we call it the innermost in recovery. Yeah, so just implying it's not the head. Yeah, so there's a recognition somewhere in us that this is completely futile, and then there's a giving up and a sense of powerlessness, and then you feel a power flow in. Yeah, yeah. We're just doing it an easier, softer way. Just trying to share with you so that you don't have to get to the big crescendo at the end of the symphony. You may not make it to that. Let's just get it. Just check out who's leading the orchestra. Let's question his bona fides and maybe not listen to the tune it's directing. Go rogue as the violinist. Fucking, yeah. Don't worry about others think. They're all fucked. Oh, no. All right. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I'm more clear now that you said that, because having grown up around gang members and 5 kids getting shot in high school, I like wearing a T-lock and doing rituals and meditation practices because it keeps me from going out and drinking. And I can go to an AA meeting last night and admit I'm totally defeated. And I know for me, I'm clear that I'm not the doer of any spiritual practices or meditation, but I can sit there and do a ritual and do a practice, not go drink another 40 or go out and want to crack a bottle over someone's head because they're not part of the gang our things are part of. So I find meditation in the 11th step incredibly practical. And I know from a non-duality perspective, once you reach a certain state of clarity, one doesn't need to do any more practices to purify the consciousness. And yet at the same time, one could still pretend to do spiritual practices and witness themselves not even being the doer of it. And potentially, some guy that walks across the field who's thinking about going and shooting his best friend in a rival gang might suddenly catch the eye of some idiot like me sitting in a field doing some ritual and think, you know what, I'm not going to go shoot that person in today's world. I'm not going to contribute to another 14,000 homicide by gun rates in the United States this year. Yeah. And so for me, the 11th step in meditation is still practical, even if I'm an idiot who's aware that I'm not the one doing it.
I think it's very important for the action figure. You need to do good things as an action figure. It's not anything for or against the fact of awakeness, but as an action figure in this little event, you need structure, and you need structure that you feel is good to convince yourself that you're not what you think. Yeah, it's important, definitely. I don't see there's no confusion in non-duality and taking care of the action figure to me at all. I think most spiritual practices would be better framed as being emotional, physical, mental balancing activities so that the action figure can travel lighter here. I don't see us as I don't think the action figure is a chariot to the gods. I don't. But in this time period, it's important to render unto Caesar's what Caesar's, for sure. I do. No, I'm all for it. I've seen a lot of people do a lot better by just doing an esteemable act than reading non-duality. That's what they need. They need to feel better about themselves. So far out, yeah. What happens with this basis is it's a foundation that allows a lot of things to happen. So like the sky, a lot of stuff happens in the sky, but none of it affects the sky. So to have that quality in your life now is a fucking incredible quality to have while you're going about traveling lighter or traveling heavier as an action figure. A lot of us are playing out deep mental grooves, and some of them are violent, some of them are the inability to have viable relations with other people. There's tons of stuff. Everyone as an action figure expression has blind spots. Yeah, lots of them. And a lot of us need a community. We need to feel connected because there's a belief in separation. All these things are paramount for the well-being of this action figure. There's non-duality isn't against or in a conflicting point of view concerning care of the body and the brain. Yeah, it's just that the difference. Let's say if I have, blood pressure, sitting still for a few minutes when I would have bad attacks was very cool. Yeah, but if I'm sitting for 13 hours a day, I'm thinking I'm going somewhere. You know what I mean? There's something there. The head has been identified thinking Paul's gonna be playing golf in heaven, as the body. It's just I just don't believe it. So I do shit to take care of the body when I can. When we're traveling, I don't do as much, but I always do. I'm in the habit of doing qigong and shit like that. There's no questions about it. But if I don't do it, I don't believe my whole day is ruined because I didn't do it. So I don't think I'm that conditioned. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm okay no matter what. So it's nice. I like doing it, and it helps the body move better. And I've had a lot of fucking physical trauma. So I need to. It's not even I need to work, do stuff to keep a certain quality of life. Do it. But the thing is, there's no story of Paul doing any of that. That was the relief isn't that I do and not do different things. The relief is from Paul. This idea of Paul. That's the relief. Paul wanted it to be for Paul, but it's unfortunately, or great fortune, that doesn't work. It's from Paul. Yeah. And it's gotten used to it. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't that happy about it. It was still holding out. It was going to get something. But then years ago, it realized I'm not going to get shit out of this. And we still show up at the talk. So yeah. But yeah, this isn't, it's important to see our limitations here and get the help that's needed. Yeah, wow. I was insane out there. I was insane. And I attracted heavy consequences for my behavior. Yeah. And I was unteachable, really, for a long time. I really thought I knew what was going on completely. There was complete faith in this false evidence, completely. And, but I was driven to try to get out of it, driven, like nonstop. And drug use was like a religion to me. Shooting cocaine was like a religion. It was. I was trying to transcend by forcing the body to collapse. If you shoot good coke in a vein, it stresses the heart. You go through an incredible rush, and you could pass away at any one of them. And we would try to pass away. Me and this other character, and because I wanted just a minute free from Paul, it was worth it to me, really. I just wanted to get out of it. Yeah. So I don't know if a lot of people are like that, but that was the experience I was in. And thank God I was done with all that before I was done, meaning dead. So I've had so much more of life. Man, it's just mind-boggling. It's sort of like I have no relationship to all that running around anymore. I have empathy for it, but I have no identification with it as Paul. It's just insanity. So, yeah, that's why I'm not a real individual type person, but holistically, that's a wish I have. I like to see people travel lighter. And I think, sometimes it's difficult to, let's say, change physical disabilities and shit like that. But mental ones, some of this everyday bullshit you can travel to a large degree, a lot lighter with what's going on. They're not heavy objects to move. They're not. They're just addictions and habits. And a lot of it's based on not knowing. You just don't know any better. Yeah. The system of self encloses you in its system. You think you're terminally unique for some of us, and therefore no one feels like you or thinks like you or does the same shit. It's all bullshit. It's a story. Yeah. So, but you need to take care, or the authorities will take care of you. So, I mean, I was going to have to be institutionalized. I was, because there was no way. As I got longer and longer into it, I was getting arrested like every week and having big incidents, like getting shot at. There was a lot of shit going on. And I had to I've been in 2 years and 3 months of programs and tons of weekends and weeks in jail. Not all at the time, but arrested quite a lot, and tons of time in hospital bed, all based on the addiction. Yeah, so spent a lot of time in hospitals. So yeah, yes, I want to see you do well, bro. I just don't mix up the one. Yeah, don't think like that guy did, that the Buddhism was going to clear up his manic depression. Get the help that's going to help what's actually the problem. Yeah, yeah. Because the head will easily fool you and have you thinking you know something, and yet it's running the show completely. So,
Well, happiness is a decision. Happiness is a decision.
Well, that's already been made. Happiness is available. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about making the decision. It's already been made, really. You just have to open up to it. I don't like happiness. I like contentment better. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Anyone else? Any questions?
I was just wondering something. Like I wish I was here yesterday. That would have been nice to get some more out of your talk. But so like when I did the first step, I approached it, for 4 years in different manners and never had any success. And the last time I was able to experience it, there wasn't a thought of the, I'm powerless. It was kind of like you were saying, it was just there, like it just made sense at that point. But does identifying myself as an alcoholic, is that, like, I'm kind of confused as to where the duality is.
Yes. Well, remember, those are just words, and you can wear them loosely. But if you're having trouble with that, there's a trick I used to know, which is you can say, I'm a grateful member of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't say you're an alcoholic.
Well, I don't necessarily, I've been sober 12 years now. I'm happy where I'm at and everything, but I guess I'm a little confused as me identifying as that. Is that what?
See, there's an identification with a me, but it's not you doing it. See, so the mechanicalness will do it, but that doesn't mean it's going to be done. It's up to the audience, which is us. So you can see the mechanical claiming of the I am an alcoholic statement, but it doesn't make it so. It needs our agreement. Yeah. So now you're sitting from a distance of it and you're not giving it the agreement. It's still mechanically implying it, but it's not. You're like the oil that has that motor running. Yeah. And that's being withheld. So you got to realize you're not doing the identification. The mental state is doing the identification. Just like the brain is thinking, the heart is beating, the mental state is implying the identification. There's no doer of it. See, that's the feeling of, that's the product or the sense that gets produced by the mental process identifying as it. Yeah, it makes you feel like you're doing shit you're not doing. Yeah, so you're not doing it. So it's not your choice. There's no choice involved. There's seeing involved. So now you see, yeah, that something will claim saying I'm an alcoholic to imply this story of you and you're never going to be different. And like that doesn't mean it's like monopoly money until you give it your interest. Until then it has currency. Yeah. So
because I can relate to when you're talking about looking at your past, and like when I look at my past and where I was when I was drinking, it's hard to put me there. Like I know it happened, I know I was there,
yeah,
I know I experienced all that, but I don't recognize that person.
yes, yeah, great. Yes, exactly with me too. Yeah. Yeah. Well, in that world, yes. But again, you know, here we're in Rome, you do as the Romans do. That doesn't mean you're Rome, you're Roman. Yeah. Yeah. That's important. That's the important thing. Your citizenry isn't of this place. This is like a visa. Hopefully it's a vacation visa, not a work visa. Yeah, but it's more like a visa, and then your real inherent state. I like what Jesus supposedly said a lot, which is you're in this world, but you're not of this world. Yeah. So because we know what it's like to be in this world, we all have our feelings around it every day to day. And he's negating it by, all right, feel like what it's like to be in this world, and then he whacks you with, but you're not of it. Yeah. So there's no conflict. There is a being in the world. That's an activity, but you're not of it. See, you're not of that activity. You're of whatever we would say spirit in recovery. Yeah. So you're of spirit. So that's a different instead of having you're in this world and you're of this world. That's like agitation meeting agitation. Here we're in this world, which is anything can happen, but we're of, yeah, which is solid and reliable. Much nicer way to travel with this than with this. Yes, yeah, yeah. That's the whole point. I feel with emotional sobriety and recovery is that you have an assurance in uncertain circumstances and situations. You know, like we say in AA, you have a new employer. And what employ means is to use. So instead of being directed by the old God, the mental state, selfing, if you want to call it, you're now being directed by the higher power. So this new employer, being all powerful, is going to take care of you. Fucking great deal. If your performance works well, and who's going to say what works isn't performing as works well, and be close to them, and you can't be far from everywhere. So it's like one requirement. That's pretty vague. So that's your deal. You have a new employer being all powerful, which implies the other one wasn't, which it ain't. It's a failed system. Being all powerful, it's going to take care of us. Fucking start acting like it. I've had enough evidence to act like it because I've been taken care of for 33 years. So it's fucking mind-boggling. So everything it says in the book describing the problem and the solution, I have an intimate experience of completely. Yeah. So I love the idea that something is doing for us what we can't do for ourselves. And I think just keep expanding that, what you can't do for yourself. I mean, really. I mean, I love doing stuff and then having the responsibility of it taken off your shoulders. Fucking it's traveling lighter. Yeah. So I don't come here. I don't do these talks. If I did, I'd probably find many reasons not to show up. Really, based on what I thought my conditions were. I was not nice to my girlfriend or something like that. So that I can't share this like as if I'm the one. The one is more important than what comes through. That's not the case in my experience. What comes through is way more important than what it comes through. Yeah, what's coming through. And I've had it, I used to do this 4-step workshop in San Francisco. And all actually in a lot of countries. But I do it in San Francisco every Monday night for like 16 years. When I leave the country for a while, as soon as I came back, I could do it again. They have a slot for me. A lot of Mondays. Went through a lot of 16 years of Mondays, 52 Mondays, 16 years, do the math. It's a lot of conditions and circumstances that I were in all these different Mondays. But what happened, one Monday, my girlfriend broke up with me right before the meeting. Another one, I was waiting here if I had AIDS, because back then it took 3 weeks, The other sinus infections, felt like shit, had no money. I didn't know how I was going to pay the rent, all these things. Yet no matter what my conditions were, if I was willing to sit there, something came through. And through that experience over again, I realized concerning this, I'm totally irrelevant, which is fantastic. All I got to do is have the body show up and something can occur. That's it. That's my job. My job isn't getting it, isn't having it. And then when I first was feeling this thing come through and I could see something was going on by people's effects, I thought, well, that's going to demand I got to get spiritually fitter or something. But when I tried to do that, it told me directly as it can. He says, no, I want you to read New York Yankee blogs, fucking do this. No spiritual shit. You know, you're better for me this way. So don't, fucking no. Yeah, I swear to God, it was super clear. And so I followed it to a T ever since. Really. And these are things you wouldn't think because we can't think about anything without us included. That's the thinking. We can sense that, but the thinking cannot do that. The thinking always has you in everything. This is why you can't get out of that system through the system. It just doesn't work, man. I tried my hardest with drugs. You can't escape an imaginary fucking place. It's impossible. So now I don't want to leave at all and I wanted to get out of here since I was 6 years old, like a lot, most of my adult life. Now for years, I don't want to go anywhere. Yeah, it's awesome. It was called in one Buddhist text, it's called a book, it's called The Wisdom of No Escape. Yeah. The wisdom of no escape is like, there's nowhere to escape from. That's the wisdom. Yeah. So now you're here because you can't be anywhere else. That's beautiful for me. And then everything that's entertained here never leaves the boundary of here and now. Never, nothing. All you're thinking about next month never leaves here and now. Does it? No, nothing. It's always here and now. That's it. I mean, why? It's like, arguing with reality, you lose. You just fucking submit, surrender. Yeah, just go along with the plan. It'll be much nicer for you and others. Yeah, so hey, everyone there, can anyone hear me? Am I muted? Mike, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear
Paul.
you.
Oh, fantastic, nice. We have. Let's show you the folks here. Hold on.
We have that iPad on the couch.
Oh, you've been seeing them the whole time. Oh,
Yeah.
well, we all thank you for being here, I guess. Yeah, I think we're gonna end up soon. Yeah. Oh, any more questions? Yeah, let's do questions. Oh, any more questions there? And then
Anybody want to raise their hand?
I want to make this the virtual reality for all the, the background, the Zoom. Yeah. No? Any questions?
No hands.
I know it's.
Oh wait, Ram is raising hand by chat.
There's no question that Tariq is from Dover, New Jersey. There is absolutely no question in that.
We have Ram raising his hand.
All right, where's Ram? Do we have a Zoom Saturday, and now we're at, yeah. So people from around.
Hi, Paul.
Hey,
how are you?
Good.
You look like you're in a beautiful place. I love the light shining down from the trees behind you. I thought it was a virtual background, and then I said, no, he's really in the woods.
Yeah, we're in the woods. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah.
I want to ask you about something. Because you refer to this
more than other people. Some people are out of it.
In or out, it's all good, man. I prefer the woods, to be honest.
All right.
It's something, you talk about, it hits me sometimes that this, I'm sure, okay, there's probably a lot of seekers who think this, but like, if anybody has been just like, had freedom shoved in my face by Ramana Maharshi, it's me. Like, it could not have been made clearer. And still there has been this self-sabotaging thing that comes along and says, oh my God, let me do whatever I can to fuck this up. Now, what's been clear listening to you is that's not me that's saying that.
Thank God.
And 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 as that becomes clearer, there's a level of freedom that's like, oh, holy shit, I can't fuck it up. But I'd sort of like to see a little more clear what drives that mechanism to try its fucking hardest to fuck up something that is the most beautiful possibility, not even possibility, to fuck up reality. What is driving that insane fucking thing to try to self-sabotage? I can't even get why it does it.
Us. It's us.
Why do I?
Not us
I,
as
this
in
idea,
not you, but us. Yeah.
us.
Yeah. The only thing that could fool reality is reality. So obviously,
Okay.
we're the activity of a joke, and a lot of us haven't gotten it yet. But something has already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you said that, I thought of the Maya of lore, you know?
Everything is from us. It has to be. So yeah, in one way or another. Yeah. There is no other thing to do anything to us, really. It's just dreaming, isn't it?
Well, if you put it that way, there's no possibility of it fucking itself up because
Exactly. That's what we're hoping to imply. Because we believe it's really fucking things up. We do. There's a belief a lot of the times. That's what we're attempting to weaken a little.
that's
Yeah.
its belief.
What would happen if that which you're so afraid of had no relevance? Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah. So that's then a big wind blows and the start of the horror movie credits start occurring. But if you just can sit still, it's not a 2-hour feature. It's like a infomercial for about a minute and a half. You can withstand it.
It's a
And then
fart in the wind.
you'll see nothing ever really happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it didn't feel as real as it could, but ultimately nothing ever really happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is happening, but nothing ever really happened. Yeah. But everything is happening. Yeah. Yeah. So I would say the way we couldn't fathom that that has a lot to do with it. Yeah. From this other we. Yeah. So I don't like the words why. I don't know why it's driven or anything. I just want to have a recognition of what I'm not and have a clarity around that so that can be relied on. And so you can rely on the recognition of what you're not more than what you're not. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good enough in this situation. Yeah. I think on a level of the action figure, it has a very limited need to know level. It doesn't need to know about the source of the stars and shit. So I keep it, simple, as we say in AA. Yeah. Yeah. Works better.
It's good that it doesn't need to know because it can't. So.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And then why do you want something to stretch 10 feet when it can only stretch 5 feet? Of course, the head's going to have a field day by its failure to stretch 10 feet, but it wasn't a failure. It doesn't have the ability to stretch it. Why does everyone want to have the description of the indescribable? Let's just keep it at that. Why do we want to comprehend the incomprehensible? Just realize it's incomprehensible. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's let's spend time speaking from the of about the in instead of speaking about the of from the in. Let's speak from the of about the in. Yeah. And let's describe it so that the of can get a little hit. Hey, I may not be in. Instead of the in constantly wanting to get out. Yeah. I mean, we're all here. Those possibilities are all here. And so I've gotten very dumb over the years concerning most stuff. I have no, especially spiritual stuff. I can get into some mental candy occasionally, but I don't care. I just want to, just to seeing these trees is fucking unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah. You feel like you're on acid or something and you don't need any hallucinogens. That's awesome. That you're the source of hallucinations. Yeah. I had a lot of trouble with dealers. It's best to cut them out of the equation. Yeah. I can't get pulled over for them. So, but you can have an HD day a lot, really. You're just like, to me, this is unbelievable. I don't have to take an 8-hour hike. 5 minutes will do. But, yeah. So that means, a lot's available. It's on our side, really. Yeah. The tree hasn't been hiding itself, has it? No. It's the availability seems to be on our side. So I think there's a lot of ways we can be up the ass of self. We can have like a turban on or a spiritual robe or anything. There's a lot of costumes up there. Yeah. And I feel a lot of those pursuits make us seemingly unavailable with the hopes of a future availability. Yeah. This is just, you're just disarmed and you're here and you can enjoy. I have a pretty relaxed day right here. I'm not under threat. We're not down in New York, fucking Bowery in New York or anything, or Staten Island and shit. We're here in this lovely place. It's nice to be able to respond to that. Yeah. And not have, all the chirping about what's not happening, land on your imaginary branch, really. So, yeah. I'm really happy that you come, bro. Yeah. I'm happy you're here.
It's a gift.
Yeah,
I want to say something about the last time that there was a call with you. You said that somebody was asking you not to use so much profanity, but the one thing you said in the entire talk that got through the most and got me through the week in the most beautiful way, where you said, "This is dog shit awareness."
Yeah.
that I've gotten so much mileage out of that. Every time I think I'm supposed to be in some sort of higher state, I'm like, no, it's dog shit awareness.
Yeah.
Thank you for that one.
But I got leniency because that's sort of anatomical. They don't like when I'm saying other words. Yeah. Like mofo. The mofo. Yeah, but they're good. Yeah. I actually did very well at that talk. I only used one anatomical shit. Yeah. That was good. But you respect people. That's their atmosphere they like to have. It's fine. Yeah. But yeah. Don't worry. That's why we have our own platform.
The bad kids.
I wouldn't last a week, Jesus Christ. No, that's why we've saved ourselves the trouble of joining forces with any other groups and shit. Hey, yeah, bro, it's nice to see you.
Always a pleasure.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you. Everyone else, there's Linda. Nice to see you, Linda S. Yeah. Chris, one of my main men. He's back at before the small closet. That's nice. That's where you should be. And we got Rich and his lovely counterpart lingering around somewhere. Yeah, there she is. Every time she gets farther and farther away. I don't know. All right. So any more questions? Any more questions?
Here we go. Yep. It is Jim.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Jim,
Okay.
you got to speak up so these folks can hear you.
Okay. Paul, in some of your talks that I watched on YouTube, you mentioned sometimes, go test it yourself in your own personal laboratory or something like that.
Yeah.
So in our own laboratory, the mind is so dominant, and it's probably going to be very difficult because the mind is taking over everything. In that case, we have nothing to do except just say, kind of surrender and say, you know, however it happens, it happens. I can't figure this out. Or, I mean,
Not
do
about
you
figuring out though, Jim. It's seeing. So
Mhm.
the atmosphere of the mind is awareness. It's not mind. So yeah, you can, when you're seemingly looking at mind, you can be looking or seeing it from awareness, which you always are, but you can have that sense, and then more is revealed then. Yeah.
Mm.
It's when the head's looking at the head, there's a lot of mutation. But we're talking about a context that we're seeing from. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so you can see the activity of mind. Now, I'm not talking about the particulars. I'm talking about how it mechanically works. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm emphasizing the word mechanical. It's not personal, even though the reaction is very personal. It's not personal. It's sort of like just does it. That's what it does. When it comes in contact with something, it claims it to support the narrative, really. You know? I mean, yeah. So there's nothing right or wrong with it. It's just an activity. But it would be, you can see, you know, the greatest activity is the stillness, let's say. So you can see these mental activities from that stillness. And more gets revealed from that view than all the going over the head with the head, I feel. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Yes, Jim. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome. We'll have one more. You guys have been here since 12. Some of you. No.
Yes.
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 Oh, I thought that was you. Yeah, but I could hear it on here. It was trippy. Wow, and it was louder on here than from you.
Would you tell us to use
I don't know. Yeah. I don't have, it's not like a pinpoint love. I don't know. You know, I don't get that. When you say, what does love mean to me today? As if love's a thing. I don't see it that way. Yeah. I feel there's an expression of love going on now, or what I would call love, but I don't see it as a thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So,
it's not like our nature is love, right? In most of
but I don't say that. It could be true, but it's not a word I use a lot. Yeah, because I felt it's been overused and a lot of meaning's been given to it. Yeah, just like I use, like in old Zen, they would call mind is everything. Big M mind. I like that word. Yeah, and then call what's happening in our head as mental processes. Yeah, yeah. So no, love isn't a word I go to, or I wouldn't call it a thing. I would feel it more as a force. Yeah. Yeah.
so this big mind that you call it, its operations, its nature, part of that nature.
I go with another Buddhist view of it. Its nature is empty. Yeah. Its essence is no, its essence is empty. Its nature is a reflection. Yeah. And its manifestation is energy.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't see it as
so then that manifestation, which is energy, that comes close to ideas of love.
I would believe that people are attempting to call what they're pointing at as love. Yeah, but they're giving it a name. I don't give it a name much. You know, yeah. I've never been, as an action figure, I wasn't a devoted type. Love and devotion wasn't, I was more interested in clarity and space, so to speak. Yeah, like wide open with nothing. Yeah, yeah, that's where I tend to go.
When wide open with nothing, that's a sort of availability. It's a sort of availability component to that, which can be looked
As love. Yeah, well, you're one of those love lights, so yeah, I could see everything can be seen as love. Yeah, I'm like one of those emptiness characters, and I don't try to give anything a name, really. Yeah, emptiness allows a lot to happen in it.
I know, but ironically, you are one of the most loving people that I
That's
know.
how it is. It's very ironic, isn't it? Yeah, because the personality doesn't lend that way. But yes, I understand. Yeah, it's true. But that's ironic. That's duality. Yeah, the last person you would think. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it happens that way. That's what's funny. See, again, man, the head is like a cookie cutter. Everything it meets, it puts its frame on. Yeah, it's good to sense that, because you may be seeing clearly through that, but that clearness is defined by the cookie cutter. You want to see clearly that. Yeah, a lot of people demonstrate clarity from that. I think it's important to have clarity about that. Yeah, the framing of everything from this manufactured place. Yeah. So, but I know love is, yeah. Maybe I'll end up, yeah. It was funny because if you've known about kirtan, kirtan, it was fun. That doesn't seem to be where I'd be from, but some people I knew in back east or knew me were big kirtan people. So they would ask me if I wanted them to do some songs before the talks. I said, sure. So, and then the funny thing is, they would sing and everyone would get blissed out, and I'd get up and go, well, here's the bad news. But the funny thing I noticed is, like, as soon as I heard the music, I was instantly available to it, even though I'm not into kirtan, whatever it was. But I was instantly available. I was fucking blissed out, just hanging. Yeah, I think that's what. Yeah. But it was funny. It seemed ironic, their kirtan. Yeah, but that's what happens. This place is. That's how it goes, doesn't it? Yeah. So thank you. Yeah. Hello, everyone hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Anyone?
we did.
What?
We were just saying yes.
Oh, yes. Everyone's nodding their head. Oh, yes. Hey.
I'm gonna ask you a question. You talked a lot about how for so much, like the first part of your life, how you were wanting to get out and basically trying to kill yourself, right?
Not kill myself. I don't want to
Like
do
doing
that.
shooting enough cocaine in your neck that you were hoping you might just
Yeah.
go.
At that point, yeah, I was willing to take a chance that I wasn't the body. Yeah.
It was more like a test.
Well, I was hoping, that the astronaut could leave the outfit, the spacesuit.
So maybe this is like young people that have no desire to live. Have such a hard life that they're like all. And I'm wondering, and like I feel like my job is to make them see how beautiful like it actually is. I'm wondering if you just
I would say your seed assignment is to be of service. Don't put it so defined, yeah, because a lot more can come through you without any set plan, yeah. And then hopefully, again, if you see it in a pattern thing, there's a lot of faith in them about that conclusion. There's a faith in that everything sucks and it's never going to get better. Yeah, there's a faith in that. Yeah, and in that faith is an identity as the one who becomes the representative of that faith. Yeah, that would be nice to sort of weaken or just point out to them. Like I remember a guy in recovery. He ended up killing himself though, but he was always saying he was totally bummed out, like all the time. And then one night I was at a party, I saw him smile across the way. I walked up to him, I said, "John, are you bummed out right now?" And he said, I said, I knew, he wasn't bummed out the whole time. It was a story that he was bummed out the whole time. You know what I mean? So there's going to be cracks that something can get through. But I feel it'd be better if you let something direct you to find the cracks. Yeah. I believe we're much bigger, and that can be brought in by us, by a recognition of, hey, I'm in a position, just like the talks, I have no idea. You're going to hear everything I say or comes through me in your way. Yeah. And in a way, there's never the perfect communication is the energy transmitted. That's the perfect communication. The words are incredibly imperfect. And the attempt to understand from the words. There's just too much subjectiveness in it. Yeah, there's no way. So you realize that. And so you realize your job is just to be used, and the jurisdiction is over after it comes out. You can't save them. All you can do is be to be open for that to come through. That's gonna do something with them. Yes, I know it's a drag, but you can't.
It's not a drag. I feel like that's like what I'm actually already.
No, I think you do. No, even though you would hope there would be, but no. Yeah, I've seen it like this time. I got.
Like shake it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, open up, and maybe there will be. Open up to some other possibilities coming through. Yeah.
But what you said about the cracks is
Yeah. Yeah, because they're under a faith of the thing that's telling them how it is.
Right.
Yeah, and so it's painting a wall with no doors, and you can point out sometimes the doors when they, yeah. But yeah, it's like in recovery a lot. Like Amelia, she doesn't come from addiction, so she believed that nothing would be able to. If I at least you don't now, but you did. You thought that the mother instinct could not be overwhelmed by addiction to drugs. The mother instinct would win out, and I would keep saying, "No, I've seen women give up their kids and give up their kid for a bit of crack." Yeah. So, and I've seen people, fly. I go to New Jersey. I speak at a rehab there, and I walked up in the office one trip, and there was this older couple trying to get their son back into this program. Both of them were in the program recovery 33 years or something, and they were clear that their love for their kid wasn't sufficient to get them sober. Yeah. Their love wasn't going to be the game changer. Yeah, this is what happens. You run into this. And so at that point, what's there to do? There's like a surrender point. And then you see something can come through you that can cause things that you didn't know were possible. Yeah, or I've seen it happen with tons of people in recovery. They come in with an airtight case that they're fucked. And you go, "Hey, you're fucked." Yeah, really, you are. And go to a meeting, and they're going, "What does that have to do with my problem?" You'll see. Yeah. They don't, their logic means I got to get a job, I got to do this. No, go to a meeting. See, it's that logic that's gotten them jackpotted, and there's still reliance. So there's a breaking of that by going to a meeting, and then you feel better. And then suddenly things start changing without your hands in the mix. And you learn there's a new way. Perhaps there's a new way, trusting something infinite rather than finite self. You learn over time, and a faith builds around that solution. Yeah. So I have a complete intimacy with surrendered. Yeah. Because all these talks I've ever shown up, I never showed up for any of them. I would have had too many reasons not to show up if it was about Paul. I swear. Yeah, I swear. I would have done something or whatever. It has nothing to do with me. That's the awesomeness. And in a way, the the ideal we shoot for in recovery is to be of maximum use to ourselves and others. It's not all about me getting everything. It's about what I can do with others. Yeah? How I can be used to support other people, other things. Yeah. It's a nice theme to live under. Yeah. Yeah. Because sometimes that agenda becomes myopic and you won't recognize, like, I wanted something in life, but the only way I could want something is picture it, and I'd have it in a certain box. And then when life brought what I wanted in a different box, I would deny the delivery the first year or two in AA. And then I learned, fuck it, I'm going to give up my old ideas of how something's going to look and get it, however it looks. Yeah. This was a moving from an old way to a new way of life. And I had a community that supported this migration. And it was an incredible migration because I was completely ass backwards, I swear, as an action figure. I was broken, completely shut off, disassociated. When I got run over by the car, I disassociated completely. I didn't take care of this leg. I just forgot I was in a body as much as I could by drug use. That was my only solution to getting run over. I just disassociated completely. If my left arm was bleeding, I just looked right over it. I swear to God, avoidance was, I'd avoid everything at all costs. It's unbelievable I actually survived physically because the strategy I had was completely bogus. Throw in a huge attraction to people in uniform and a taste for big consequences. It was a fucking bad hand of cards I had. And yet it was turned around over time by this influence of this grace or this power that's available. Yeah. Not just the people in recovery, everyone. Yeah. Yeah. So I see myself as I just show up for the seed assignment. What happens isn't my business, really. Yeah. Just like I had a strong bug in me that everyone has the right to hear possibilities. That's what drives me a lot because a lot of people could really avail themselves a lot from things they're not hearing about. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of groups and communities sometimes get very us and them and very fundamental, so to speak. And they shut the door on other possibilities. Yeah. And it's at our expense, our loss. And so I would have loved to have heard about non-duality years and years ago. And I would have loved to have heard about this foreign pathogen in my life because I kept thinking what was killing me was me. If I could see it as other, it would provide a lot of other possibilities. And I did, finally, yeah. So I don't know when the kids are going to get to that point, but, because right before that faith in believing that life sucks is an incredible space. So who knows? I think you're probably doing a great job on just let go of the results. Like we say in AA, we're not in the outcome business. Just let go of the results, do the best you can. There you go. Yeah. And who's to say what's the best you can? Whatever you can is the best you can. Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully not listen to the head locate you because it triangulates you and it puts you in a position. And you don't need to be in that. You don't. You can be free ranging and be led and directed. Yeah. Of course, yeah.
I catch myself sometimes, like kind of going along with that because it seems it almost impossible at times to just because I in a way they are like super fucked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I have maybe even more faith that there's only one thing that's gonna like help them be free of that, and I don't know how to convey the message.
Well,
But
that's your
you answered
point.
my question.
Yeah,
It's
but go
about-
right there. I don't know how to, and then something does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. It's like you know when to put the ball down. You run as far as you can, and the wisdom is to know when to put the ball down. Something else will pick it up. Yeah, yeah.
And it's interesting.
It doesn't mean it's going to turn out well.
No, I know.
Everyone has their destinies as an action figure.
I
Yeah,
know, and I have nothing to do. It's also interesting to me, like you talk about like realizing that we're not the driver, something else is driving
Yeah.
us. And it's interesting. I see somehow like early on in life, like that knowledge came to me, and I just kind of allow life, you know, and that feels like I feel really like lucky to have that understanding.
yeah.
That understanding seems it's not something that can be taught. Like it's like we either get the grace or we don't. You know?
Well, it's always being taught. You can pick up on it. I don't mean
Yeah,
you
it's
getting
what's
taught, but
available
it's
and
it's
got the
out
message,
there.
you know?
Well, I didn't hear those.
Oh, that it's available and somehow I
Yes,
message.
yes, yes.
It's very confusing what we're talking about now. Because it fucking talks a lot of sense.
Well,
man.
who knows what it takes for each person? Yeah, some people will knock
Can't, like,
other
spoon
people.
feed it to somebody.
I don't think so. You know. Yeah, just like in recovery, it's not always a fact, but the people who want the person to be sober the most are the least, probably will have the least influence on the person getting sober. Yeah, it's just the way it goes. It's weird. I mean, this is what you notice. Yeah, yeah. So, well, we want to end with that. I'm sorry. Hey, did you hear anything there, guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, great. Hey, we're gonna say goodbye. I think. Yeah. Is that
Bye.
all right?
Sit.
And if
Sit.
anyone's moved to, oh, you're giving me a bag.
Sit.
We're gonna have, yeah. Send the bag around about 7 times.
Sit.
I notice they break down after 6. Yeah.
Sit.
And we'll put the focus on each one. We're gonna check if they
Mike,
donate.
you're not muted.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna end here and also, hey, you know what? We have books. Oh, we have books and in here we have books and we have a lot of T-shirts, and I'm gonna give a sale on the T-shirts. Zen Bitch Slap T-shirts. Yeah, they're last year's model. Hey, I just want to say goodbye to everyone, and we're gonna close up here. Oh, we got always. Oh, fantastic! Thank you, my friend. I'm gonna have one of those right now. Oh, Ginger, especially. Thank you. Hey guys, Mike. We'll talk to you afterwards. Take care of the dog. All right. We may not be back for a couple of weeks.
Oh,
Hey, Richard, nice to see you, Richard, up there. Yeah. And listen, if you find a shirt, you can do a deal, because I just want to, basically, I want to give them away, but it would be nice to get some. All right. So let me just say hello, Bernard. I'm going to make it a little quick because I got to keep, somebody may steal a book or anything. Keep my eye on them. Norman, nice to see you, Norman. These are sort of like the woods in Germany, maybe, eh?
Yes, quite similar.
Yes, I thought so. Yeah, cool.
Like it.
Nice to see you, Norman. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to take a picture of this. We got Bernard, Norman, Tariq, yeah, from Dover. Always good to see you. We got Kenneth from Vancouver. Pleasure. George from the Void.
Yes.
That's George.
Thank
Roman,
you.
Roman from the Near Void. We got Trisha. Nice to see you, Trisha. Thanks for people coming today. John K. Alex from New York. You're feeling a little different, Alex?
A little bit.
Good. There you go. Yeah. Judith and Kerry, nice to see you too. My little pineapple and papaya. Nice to see. Good to see you. Connor from Dublin. There's no pineapple or papaya for you. Unless it's canned. Yeah. Nice to see you, Connor. Linda, Ben C. Hold on, I'll be done in a minute. Ben C. Nice to see you. Verena.
No,
I thought she was from Amsterdam, but she's from Germany. Nice to see you. We got Deborah, M. Mickey, the matriarch of Madeira, Rich A. and his lovely counterpart. Malcolm, as always, thank you. Yes. Izzy, nice to see Izzy from the UK. We got Peter Hornat. He's going outside. He's got his cold gear there. We got Jim. Thank you, Jim, for the dialogue today. Harvey, Michael, Stacy. Let's see. What's back here? All right. Well, I'm going to take off. All right. Mike, we'll call you up. We'll see you soon. Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Paul.
All
Great
right,
weekend.
thank you.
Thanks, Paul.